Okay, we are live, but we got to let it breathe just for a moment here while we make sure we got our Facebook peeps in here with us. Bear with us just a moment or two, and we are good. Welcome in, everybody, to the Huddle Up podcast, presented, as always, by Mile High Huddle, powered by Overtime Media. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, as always, my partner in crime, my fellow football priest, and the deputy editor of MileHighHuddle.com, Zack Kelberman. Zack, we kind of saw this coming a little bit, right? We predicted or foresaw that George Paton was likely to make this move, especially because of the fact that he's still got 2 games left to serve on his suspension. But Mike Kliss broke the news today. Broncos are releasing cornerback AJ Bouye. What was your off the cuff reaction to that?
No surprise. Completely expected, Chad. We talked about this for a while now. People were expecting George Paton's first move as Broncos GM is to make the big splash trade, but I held firm to the belief that his first move was going to be to trim the fat around the roster, and that starts with AJ Bouye, save them $13 million in salary cap space, and I believe there's one more domino to fall, if not 2 more. Jarrell Casey and maybe even Kareem Jackson. Those 3 combined would save the Broncos $35.24 million in salary cap space. That enables them to do whatever they want to do. Pay Shelby, sign Simmons, go get free agents, find your quarterback. This was the first domino to fall, and I'm happy Bouye is gone. He was a big disappointment, Chad, for his contract last year.
There were a few times he showed some promise, like the Tennessee game before he injured that shoulder. He had a very, I think he had 2 pass breakups, 2 PBUs, one of which in a crucial third down situation. And then, of course, the shoulder misses all that time. I mean, a lot of time. Comes back, gets concussed when A.J. Johnson collides with him. Was it A.J. or was it Kareem? It was Kareem, I think. Actually.
Kareem, yeah.
A.J. was with Devontae Bosby the year prior. Anyway, and then the concussion, and from between that and then he gets suspended, misses the entire last quarter of the season. He just couldn't get into a groove. It was definitely a swing and a miss. But, if he doesn't get hurt, even with the suspension that he had to serve late in the year, if he doesn't get hurt, I still think he would have been. I think the injuries threw him off. You give him health with Fangio, I think he would have, maybe not Pro Bowl AJ from 2017, but you would have got above average level left side boundary corner.
I think we're on the same page there. I was going to say he might have survived having a down season with the injuries and his poor play. I think the suspension was the straw that broke the camel's back to the Broncos. It wasn't worth it. And it's not like he's done with it. He has 2 more games left to serve this season. So at the cost of what his contract was carrying, his performance last year, this is also an indication, Chad. What are the Broncos going to do in the first round of the draft? Caleb Farley just got way more realistic for them now. They have a massive hole on the depth chart. Officially, they might soon fill in about 2 months.
Yeah, it went from being a pretty gaping need to just being like a chasm. Like it's like Gandalf and the Balrog right now, all right, in the Mines of Moria. That's the kind of hole the Broncos have at cornerback. The only saving grace is Bryce Callahan and a little bit of a flyer, a little bit of a hope that Michael Ojemudia can continue to develop, because I do think he showed a lot more promise in year 1 as a former 3rd-round pick than we ever saw from Isaac Yiadom in Denver, or Brendan Langley in Denver. But still, man, like that's nothing. Bryce is a nickel corner. That's where you hang your hat. If you're the Broncos, you cannot rest on your laurels. You got to go hard to figure out how you can not only bolster corner, but like you got to search for some serious upgrades. Like it's DEFCON level problem.
Yeah, and the thing about Callahan, he's far and away the Broncos' best cornerback, but can the Broncos rely on him? I mean, considering his injury history, he missed all of 2019, he ended 2020 with an injury. Is he worth counting on? And that my answer is no. So this is a situation where the Broncos are like where they were last year with wide receiver, or this past year. They might end up double dipping in rounds 1 and 2. They might sign a veteran and draft Farley or Surtain in the first round. Like you mentioned, it's not just a need, it's a must-have for Denver. Priority number, I guess, 2 after quarterback this offseason.
Guys, we have a few tasty topics to get to tonight, including Phillip Lindsay, like literal nuke from orbit on Pat Shurmur. I don't think it's one of those things where, guys are on the radio, they're being asked questions, and then once they kind of get going, it's not until after the fact that they kind of maybe realize what they said. Maybe that was the case for Lindsay, what we'll get to a little bit later. Maybe he meant to say exactly what he said, but either way, it was pretty incendiary. All right, let's just put it that way. But what we've really been looking forward to tonight is our Superstar segment. We're bringing on MHH male model here in just a few moments. You all know him. You all love him. Mohamed Badri. We're going to get a chance to talk to him and pick his brain on some of these hot button issues and find out how he became such a dedicated, passionate, outgoing Broncos fan. We're going to get to all that here in just a moment. We're gonna grab Mohamed. First, though, we got to say hello and tip our cap to the presenting sponsor of tonight's live stream podcast, Manscaped. Guys, 2020, it's in the books. Put it behind you. It's 2021. That means it's time to step your game up. It's time to embrace the new year, new me mindset. And there's no better way to do that than with Manscaped, because Manscaped is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming, offering precision-engineered tools for your family jewels and helping over 2 million men around the world keep their below-the-belt grooming on point. So if you let yourself go maybe a little bit in 2020 with quarantine and just how crazy that year was, Manscaped is here to help you reboot, help you stay clean and shaved in 2021.
Yeah, real quick, I always talk about the nose hair trimmer, cleaning up your face. We talk about cleaning up your undercarriage and your unmentionables, but for someone who wants to male groom and use Manscaped, it doesn't have to be those areas. In fact, if you go to the gym like I do, if you wear tank tops or sleeveless shirts and you have hair on your arms like I do, hair on your neck, hair on your back, this is a perfect tool to rid yourself of all those issues. It's like I still have it charged. I've used this continuously for about 2 weeks now. Like Chad always mentions, you have the light. It's comfortable. It's ergonomic. It's affordable. I use it constantly on my arms. There's never any bumps, never bruises, scrapes, anything like that. Gets all the hair off, nice and smooth. They send you also conditioner for your skin, conditioner for your face, conditioner for your undercarriage. It's the total package for what you need, regardless of what you want to do or what depth you want to go to in male grooming, Chad.
I think Manscaped likes to push the Lawnmower 3.0 as kind of the star of the show, and there's the light that illuminates that undercarriage. But to me, it's actually the anti-chafing. All right, it's like a lotion. It's not exactly a lotion, but it's like a lotion. And for below the belt, let me just tell you, if you're on your feet a lot during the day, you're walking, it helps to avoid some very uncomfortable situations where in the back of your mind, you're sitting there talking to your boss and you got to make an adjustment, but you can't because then you look like a weirdo. So you just sit there and suffer. That avoids, all right, it avoids that for you. So many different products to choose from, all right, in the Manscaped arsenal. So head on over there right now to manscaped.com. Get 20% off plus free shipping when you use the code HUDDLE. Your family jewels will thank you.
Chad, sometimes I sit there like doing this pod, like that same feeling. So I know it's definitely relatable. Yes, guys, 20% off and free shipping with the code HUDDLE at manscaped.com. Again, that's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code HUDDLE. Happy New Year to you and your family jewels.
All right, I'm going to go through the matters of business very quick because we want to get to our guest tonight. So let's blaze through it, guys. Hey, become a follower. It's free of our Facebook page, the actual Huddle Up Podcast Facebook page, facebook.com/milehighhuddlepod, or just open up the app. 99% of people who use Facebook, you just have the app on your phone, search Huddle Up Podcast, follow. We have grown that very quickly in the last week and a half since we created it. And we're grateful to each and every one of you that have followed the page, but we need to continue to bump those numbers. We got a lot of cool things planned and we're doing some giveaways. So you're always going to be enrolled, if you will, into our giveaways and our raffles that we're going to be doing through that page. As long as you are liking and following the page, you're going to be included in that. So check it out. Twitter, @HuddleUpPod and @MileHighHuddle. If you follow those two accounts, you will miss nothing. Also, move on over to the merch store, huddleuppod.com, when you get a second, and get your swag on. Get a hat, get a T-shirt, get a face mask, a mug. A little something for everybody. It's another way to support what we're doing here at MHH, and we really appreciate it when you guys do patronize that merch store. And you guys blew us out of the water. Like, we had no idea the merch store was going to explode like it did last year. And we have some really fun plans for new merch coming down the pike. You guys have heard me mention it a couple times on the show, but we have a new graphics design type guy that we're working with named Jake. Very talented, very on point, and he's going to help us design some new stuff. So there's going to be some gear coming to the merch store here in the very near future for our dedicated community. And then also, guys, we got to plug this, all right? Make sure you're aware. go to our main Facebook page for Mile High Huddle, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. You'll know you're in the right place because you'll see all the logos and you'll see that there's 92 or 93,000 fellow followers there. Click the big blue button to become a supporter. It's $5 a month. And what that gets you is our premium video content that we have rolled out starting in January, which includes Kelberman's Corner, hot takes that hold water. It's Zach, it's Kimberly Becker, and it's great content, a little bit different flavor than what we do on these long-form live streams. So check that out. Episode 5, right, Zach, is coming Sunday. I'll just say the next episode of KK is coming on Sunday at noon Mountain Time. So check that out. And if you're not in a position to patronize the merch store, become a supporter or Super Chat Superstar, seriously, we just appreciate you being with us. It's we're grateful just to have you here, whether you're live or listening after the fact. We do ask these 3 things, all right? We get it. We're a little bit demanding of our audience, all right? We want you to participate. We want you to engage with us here. Subscribe, okay, on YouTube and Apple and I almost said Shopify, Spotify. That's crucial. Number 2, like the video. If you're watching on YouTube, just quickly hit the like. You guys have no idea how much that helps us. Same on Facebook. That's your call to action. We take it as a personal insult. If you watch the pod, even if it's for 2 minutes, all right, and you don't give us a like, it hurts our heart. But the third thing is the litmus test. If we are doing a good job for you, share this video out there. Help us continue to grow and reach new like-minded Broncos fans just like you. All right, end of sermon. Let's bring on MHH, resident male model, Mohamed Badri in the house. Superstar alert. Here he is. Mohamed, we have been very much looking forward to tonight and the opportunity to meet you and talk to you a little bit. First of all, how are you? And then tell us how you became such a dedicated and passionate Broncos fan.
I'm doing good. I just want to thank you, Chad and Zach, for having me on. I was actually, like, if you look at my Twitter handle, it says 2005. That was the year I became a Broncos fan and a football fan. I was born in another country and didn't really know anything about football. When I saw it on TV, it used to seem to me like people were fighting, didn't understand what the game was, had no interest in it, and boy, was I wrong. I mean, it's like chess.
Yes.
Ever since that time, I've just, been following football. I'm still actually learning about it and stuff, and just love the Broncos.
Mohamed, I thanked you before we went live, and I want to thank you publicly again for all the support that you give us, the podcast, the shows, Kelberman's Corner. You've been tremendous, so thank you so much for that. You and I are a lot alike in how we think and view the Broncos, but how did you see them finishing? What are your thoughts on how they finished the season, and where do you see them going forward? Do you see them being a playoff team? Do you see them being a middling team? Do you see them being a playoff team? How do you see the Broncos shaking out this season?
So I kind of have mixed feelings, because if we do go to the playoffs, that means Vic Fangio is going to stay in a way. He gets to keep his job, and I really just want him gone. It's the whole coaching team. But I can see us winning 8, maybe 9 games, 9 and 7, something like that. So maybe a wild card.
By the way, guys, any direct questions you have for Mohamed, any super chats, get them in the stream. John will keep an eye out, and we'll try and get those to him if we still have time here at the end of our conversation. So 2005, I figured that, when we first started connecting with you on Twitter, and I found your handle, and eventually I memorized it from every night. Super Chat Superstar, boom, supporting us, doing your thing. And I figured, you know what? I bet that 2005, it's got some kind of Broncos significance. So it's cool to hear that. But that was a good year to become a Broncos fan, because that was the year Jake Plummer and that defense, that was the year of no mistake Jake, where he took the Broncos all the way to the AFC Championship game and then proceeded to have the worst performance of at least his Broncos career, maybe his entire career, in the biggest game of his career. And a young upstart Ben Roethlisberger, who had just recently supplanted Tommy Maddox in Pittsburgh, beat the Broncos, went on to the Super Bowl. If Denver takes care of business and beats that young Steelers team, they go to the Super Bowl and lambast the Seattle Seahawks, who, they had Sean Alexander at his peak, but that's really all they had. So that was a good year. That was a fun year, very memorable for me, and I'm sure for a lot of other Broncos fans. But let's say now, here we are, many years down the road from then, right? 15, 16 years later. What's your best memory of being a Broncos fan as it relates to the team, and maybe also what you've, your least favorite memory, your worst memory.
Favorite memories, actually two. I think first one would be, Tebow to Demaryius Thomas, Steelers. Yeah, just because he didn't really know how to throw the ball. So I'm just saying. And then second one would be strip sack, Von Miller, Cam Newton.
Mm-hmm. Iconic, Zach.
Yeah. And least favorite, anything in the last, 3-4 years?
Actually, I would say when we lost to the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
Raheem Moore.
Overtime, yeah.
Yeah, we don't talk about that name.
Yeah.
Or that game.
We got a question here from Mark Knapp on Facebook, great member of our community. He says, who is your all-time favorite player being a Broncos fan since 2005?
I would say Von Miller. I really like Von Miller. Yeah.
I mean, of this era, Zach, it's got to either be, I think the most common answers that we get from fans of this era, like 2005 on.
Peyton or
Von Miller, Peyton, Demaryius probably is up there just based on what I see and hear from people. And then you can start getting down into different levels, but those are probably the three that jump out.
Yeah, and thank you, John. That's exactly the question I had for you, Mo. What's your take on Drew Lock's progress? Where do you see him going this season? Do you see him developing into that franchise quarterback? I know you are among the silent majority with Chad and I that are still on the number 3 bandwagon, but do you see him taking that mantle of being the franchise quarterback?
Honestly, with Drew, my gut tells me no, but at the same time, we have to be fair because of what happened last year. And, give him another year. Cortland will come back,
Yes.
Just see what happens, pretty much. I don't think it's fair if we just go ahead and just, get another quarterback for now.
So no Deshaun Watson in Denver.
Oh, no.
No Russell Wilson, no Carson Wentz. Okay.
I don't want nobody's quarterbacks. We don't like let's just draft one,
By the way,
sloppy seconds.
Did you guys see that the Texans continue to implode their top, it was the president, their CEO, their top financial executive?
President.
Yeah, the president resigned after 20 years with the club. Man, that is a franchise that is just doing this right now. It's like, it's in the throes. I don't know if it's a death throw, it's a death spiral. I don't know, but I can see why Deshaun Watson is saying, "Get me out of here." I just I don't like the cost. All right, we got one more here from Chichi Choa on Twitch. Appreciate you being with us on Twitch, my friend. It says, Mo, who do we draft in the first round? So the Broncos, just to set the stage for all of our listeners, sitting there with pick 9 in this coming draft, at least for now. What do you hope to see for your team?
So I like Kaya Parsons, the inside linebacker, but because they released AJ Bouye, I think they might go for Farley, But I really think that's something that we've been missing, especially playing against the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
We can't cover no tight ends, running backs. So I was actually hoping for that to happen, but I don't know. Might be a cornerback. So
I would love an inside linebacker.
I mean, maybe they can solve half that problem by landing a Levante David in free agency.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently not.
You think he's going to be though? Like, is he going to be expensive?
He might not make it. You saw what Arian said today. He goes, "You ain't going nowhere, Levante." So, or Shaquille Barrett for that matter. I don't believe he leaves Tampa Bay. So, sad.
And I haven't really examined Tampa's cap situation, to be frank. So, if he's saying that, he probably has a dang good reason to be saying it. Not only in terms of we want you back, but like he probably has had a chat with the GM and knows their financial sitch and what to expect. All right, one more question for you here, Mohamed, and that is, when it comes to the future outlook, obviously you're a little bit down on Vic Fangio. You're a little bit down on Pat Shurmur, and understandably so. We're going to talk here in a minute when we on the other side of this segment with you, our conversation with you. We're going to talk about this Phillip Lindsay, this really fiery Phillip Lindsay interview in which he basically laid out, how he was misused by Pat Shurmur, running up the middle. Then he gets hurt. And also kind of throw some shade at him about, the whole catching the ball and being a pass catcher and all that stuff. So it's kind of, as I said at the top of the show, it's kind of a nuke from orbit. Maybe it's Freudian slip. I don't think so. I think he probably knew what he was saying. What do you think that means for his future in Denver? Do you think Phillip gets RFA tender because he's a restricted free agent, so the Broncos have the prerogative to tag him with a tender, and then other teams can swoop in and sign him, but then those teams have to give things up to the Broncos? Or do you think maybe the Broncos just say, George Payton, he's like, look, Phillip Lindsay, you're nothing to me. Like, I'm new on the scene, and you just ditched our offensive coordinator. Do you think this is bad for Lindsay's prospects to return?
I mean, everybody loves Phillip Lindsay, but I think he's gone. He knows it too, because Pat Shurmur just don't like him. Like he doesn't work out for his system. So, and the sad part is we let him go. He gets signed, and then hopefully we get new coaches next year. Different system, then what? That's the problem. But at the same time, what's going to happen with Melvin Gordon? I don't know. It's not really clear. But I think he really knows that he's gone. So he was like, I'm going to just say what I want to say.
Mo, I need you to do something for me for my own personal benefit. Will you please answer this question, because I got to hear your answer.
Which coaches would you keep, Mohamed, from Albert Knoppers?
Nobody.
Brings me pleasure. That's all I'm going to say.
Bricks, huh? Well, hey, Mohamed, we so appreciate you making some time for us here tonight. A, B, just all of the support, and not just the support, but like what you bring to our community in terms of your personality. And I know it's not just Zach and I as hosts and John as producer, but like everybody in the community, they get, I think they feel a little bit more enriched and edified because you're in the community. So we appreciate you. We appreciate your passion, everything you bring to the table for MHH, and of course your support. Yeah. And as we say goodbye to you tonight, of course, we'll have you back on the show here in the near future. I know you had a little shout out or two you wanted to get out there before we sign off.
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to my wife, Shaima. She actually helped me out with this whole decorations. I don't know nothing about it, the lightings and everything. So, and then my son, Abdel, is also watching. Got a couple of friends, Tisha, Nikki, Chris, my brother, Moed is watching. So I just wanted to give a shout out to them. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to the MHH community. And last but not least, the Beast.
The Beast in the house.
Beast.
All right, my friend. Well, hey, yeah, we echo that. Shout out to everybody, including everyone in the Badri family. And I know you got a new addition coming to that family in the near future. Your child will be born about a month before my child is going to be born. So we'll have to exchange some, new dad tips. The last time I had an infant in my family was a decade ago. So I've blocked all that out and forgotten it. So it's another trial by fire for me.
Yes, sir.
All right, my friend. Appreciate you, Mohamed. Follow him on Twitter. Let me show you how you find him at Broncos 2005. He's a very, very fun, very engaging Twitter follow. So connect with him there. Appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you. My house. Salute to guys.
Salute to you. Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon. There he goes, Mohamed Badri. Just love that. I mean, seriously, I don't know, man. Some guys perfectly personify and embody just our whole ethos here at MHH, and Mo is one of those guys. And it's not just because, the reason I started calling him the MHH male model, appreciate you, Dylan, is because, he went and got a hat, went and got a hoodie. You saw him rocking the hoodie tonight, right? That's a man that is on point, and then he doesn't just take a selfie, because we want to show love to our those that get the gear and all that. We retweet them or put their pictures up on our social media, Instagram and all that. My dog, has the perfectly position. He's got the hat on, he's got the hoodie on, pick, looks good. And so I'm like, hey man, that's we should probably start, if we sold a set, Zach, the hat and the hoodie is one thing. We just take Mohamed's profile pic, put it on the merch store. This is how good you could look, dog.
It's the Badri starter pack. That's what we'll call it. That's how we'll market it. And, Mohamed, I got to say again, we have the best, listener base in the entire world as far as I'm concerned. Broncos country is the best fan base, but the Huddle Up Pod and our fans and our listeners and our viewers are the best, and we are so grateful for each and every one. But what Mohamed does on a daily basis, Chad, not just for the podcast, but articles, Twitter, he's there every episode for KK. He's promoting it more than I am. And he's doing that completely on his own volition because he's that good of a guy. I am truly touched by his generosity, and he is seriously, there's so many to name, but he is definitely a top 3 member of this community. I could not have more respect or appreciation for him.
Not only that, here's another one of our top members of this community.
Oh, yeah.
Queen jumping
Another top 3.
Showing some love. Appreciate you, Christy. She says, showing some love. Nice to see Mo on tonight. # Broncos Country is the best. We echo that. And you exemplify that, Christy. Mo exemplifies that. But let me just tell you one last little quick thing and then get right back into the content on Mohamed is when we were debuting episode 1 of Kelberman's Corner, I think I shared this anecdote or at least a version of it a few weeks back. But, we debuted it, of course, on a Sunday at noon. And I want to say, Zach, that it was like either a Thursday, it might have been like an early on a Friday, but I get a DM from him. And he's like, hey, Chad, is it KK coming out? It's starting on Sunday. And I'm like, yep, here's the time. You're locked in. He had already subscribed as a supporter. He was good to go. I said, yep, you're locked in. He goes, well, maybe you should promote that. I'm like, dog, I got to step up my game because he was right. Like we had been talking about it on the show, but I'd kind of dropped the ball on pushing it out on our social media. And he was on it, dude. He's like, everyone needs to know about this, dude. What are you doing? So we got the flyer out and we, blitzed everybody. So that's just his mindset, man. That's just who he is. And we appreciate him.
He also gave me a flattering nickname. So it's one of the few in my life I ever had. So I appreciate you, Mo.
Let me grab Tyler. Randall has been waiting extremely patiently while we talked with Mohamed here. Really appreciate your super chat there, Tyler. You are rapidly becoming a superstar here. He says, Pat Shurmur's awful scheme this season cost one of the most explosive running backs in the NFL his shot at being the guy and getting paid like it. I know injuries help, but if he wasn't used incorrectly, maybe he doesn't get hurt. # I'd be mad too. Tyler, thank you so much. And Zach, I want you to react to that. And while you do, I'm going to bring up this article so everyone can get on the same page on exactly what Lindsay had to say.
I mean, my reaction is nonverbal because I cherry-picked one quote out of the article, which was a very well-written article by Luke about Phillip Lindsay. And what he said is, basically, how do you know if someone can't catch the ball if you don't throw to him? And my reaction was the Oprah gif. Anyone's ever seen it on Twitter where she's like, that's what I've been saying for months and months now. He's saying the same thing Chad and I said, and he's finally speaking out. And I believe putting Pat Shurmur on blast where he needs to be put. No other player has said this. Vic Fangio deferred all accountability, all responsibility. It was all Drew Lock's fault. But lost in the quarterback and lost in the injuries and lost in the pandemic was the misuse of the Broncos offensive players from Jerry Jeudy to Noah Fant to KJ Hamler and, yes, even Phillip Lindsay. I was standing up and applauding these comments, Chad, not because I want dissension or disharmony in the Broncos locker room, because it needed to be said. Phillip Lindsay is a game-breaking talent, and when he has a game where he has 2 or 3 carries, 2 or 3 touches, that is inexcusable. I could not be happier that he finally spoke up.
Very well said. So let me just set the stage really quick, all right? Shout out to our friends Nick Ferguson and Cecil Lammy of the Nick and Cecil Show. Weekdays on the Fan there in Denver, 104.3 The Fan. They had him on, I want to say it was Monday night, all right? So they got talking, and here's what Phillip Lindsay said, the first thing that he said that was incendiary. Quote, everybody knows that I can run inside well, but come on now, I'm 190 pounds. I can't sit there and run up the middle 24/7. That's just not my style. I have all this speed. I have great vision. That just jumped up. Come on, man. Stand by.
You're not our sponsor, Reese's. Get out of here.
All right. I have great speed. I have all the speed. I have great vision. I'm a person, that can accelerate at any time. I just need to be put in position at times where you can get the pulling guards and you can get the screens, the draws. That stuff right there accelerates a running back, especially my type. Close quote. We'll come back to another one, but I want to touch on this. I want to let our hair down just for a second on this. This is absolutely true. How many times during last season, whether it was Phillip or Gordon, but regardless, did we say that Pat Shurmur's rushing attack was boring? It was predictable. It was inside-outside zone, just rotate it. Then what happened? Late in the year, he finally decides to get creative. What game was it? I want to say it was the road game. shoot, I can't remember which game it was, but it was down the stretch. All right. All of a sudden you're seeing guards and tackles and even the center pulling, and you're doing traps and pulls. And sure enough, what did it do? It blasted open a few big games for Lindsay. I mean, he had several games last year, Zach. I'm going to pull up his game log here in a second. But he had several games this year where he would have 7, 8, 9 carries, but then he'd have like 89 yards, 90 yards. I mean, his production when he was used in that way was just unbelievable. And he's right, man. You got to let him, you got to scheme him to a point where he can utilize his skill set and his talents and what make him that special, unique back that he is. You got to get him on the perimeter.
It would be like never calling a 9 route for Tyreek Hill. It just doesn't make sense if you're not utilizing the player's best skill sets. And you mentioned the Broncos' run schemes being boring, uncreative. They were downright just terrible last year. They were running Phillip Lindsay like Royce Freeman, right up the middle. No creativity, nothing outside. But that's also an issue. I can't fault just Pat Shurmur. That actually precedes Pat Shurmur all the way back to Scangarello. So I don't know. Maybe it's Curtis Modkins. Maybe there's someone on the coaching staff that just doesn't see Lindsay for what he is. But it really came to pass last year when he was getting like a handful of touches a game. When he's your most explosive playmaker on offense, he can take it to the house from any point of the field. He's a tough guy. He can run up the middle. He can run goal line. He can pass protect. He can catch the ball. But if you don't allow him to see the field, if you don't give him the touches, and worst of all, if you don't utilize his skill set, he's useless. And I don't blame him one iota for saying these comments. It's almost like, though, reading it, it's like he got verbally hacked. You would never expect Phillip Lindsay to say these things out loud. But he's so on point and so specific with his criticism, it makes me feel like he's been harping on this for months and months and months. Not just something that came to him in this moment. This is something that's been sitting with him the entire season. And someone finally asked about it, and he finally had enough courage, and he finally had enough, I don't care anymore, to say, this is how it really is. This is how it can't be, but this is how it is, and I don't like it.
Honestly, I think this really is a thing that this devolves to Shurmur, because Curtis Modkins, the running backs coach, he was the guy that basically vaulted Lindsay. Like it was Modkins' call to supplant Royce Freeman. Like when Royce Freeman got hurt in 2018 as a rookie in week 7, all right, against the Texans, he was the man at that point. Lindsay had flashed a few big games and he had made some big plays and had some big runs, but he was the complement. And then Royce went down, and Lindsay just took that freaking mantle and ran with it. And then when Royce came back, there was your opportunity to go back to your 3rd-round pick. You got a serious investment in. Didn't happen. From then on out, it was Lindsay. Modkins, I think, does deserve some of the credit for Lindsay's unprecedented back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing campaigns to open his career, despite being undrafted. Christy says Shurmur is predictable and not creative. Lindsay could work, but won't in Shurmur's crap system. Sad to see. Lindsay has heart, and that's hard to find.
That's such a good point about him having heart. He has the biggest heart, I believe, on the entire team. And no matter if it's 3rd and 1 or 4th and 20 or 1st and 10, I mean, he will always give you his all, and he will always push forward. He's always fighting. He's always battling out there. He loves being a Bronco. He loves Denver. He loves football. Why not reward that guy? Why not feed into that guy? And instead, they alienated that guy. That's just completely wrong.
We're not done with Lindsay. We're still on this. Fat Cats, appreciate you, my friend. He just jumped in, dropped a super. He'll catch it after work, but he says, can't stay. Just want to drop some love. Catch you after work, priests. Hey, appreciate you, Doc. Appreciate you very much. And by the way, reach out to us and connect with us on Twitter. If you have a Twitter account, we'd love to be able to link up with you and keep the conversation going on Twitter, and also be able to shout you out after these shows here. Let me see here real quick, John. So my stream is about to jump. I'm going from, all right, now I'm at 6:55. So let me tell you where I'm at. I'm at Jay Ritchie at 6:42. So we'll the ones you have queued up, those we're going to get those starting with David here. Really appreciate you, David. Another one of our great superstars, another one of our great Mount Rushmore guys. And David, hey, we've never had you on the show. If you'd be interested in coming on and having a segment, a superstar segment, you have my email address, milehighhuddle@gmail.com. Reach out. We'd love to set that up if it's something you want to do. Not everyone wants to do it. We understand, but if you do, hit us up. We'd be happy to schedule a time. But David says, now that we have released Bouye, who could Denver target in free agency at cornerback? very good question. We've touched on this a few times, but it's not a great free agent cornerback market at this stage. You have a really big name, and that's Patrick Peterson, and you could maybe make an argument for him if it wasn't a weird year where your cap could go as low as 175 million, and you're a lot more just tapped financially, a lot more restrictions and constraints. In this case, Zach, as much as I like the idea, I think he still has another couple, 2-3 years left in the tank of being a solid number one corner. I just don't think financially that's what he's looking to do. Plus, at this stage in his career, he probably wants to find the best of both worlds in terms of money and somewhere he can win.
Exactly. And the Broncos aren't going to swap out one high-priced veteran corner for another. I mean, he's a guy that can go to a contending team and win a Super Bowl. He's not going to come to Denver for what's going to be at least a 1 to 2 year rebuild to get back to the playoffs. I believe they saved some money. There's some other names. Mackenzie Alexander played for Peyton in Minnesota. A couple of Cowboys cornerbacks, Awuzie and Jordan Lewis, even though Lewis is more of a slot guy. Not a great cornerback class, so this is an area that I expect them to address in the draft. And like I mentioned, they might just end up double dipping in rounds 1 and 2, rounds 1 and 3. It is a dire need.
All right, one more from David. Really appreciate that support and your questions, my friend, because this was another topic we were going to get to tonight, and that is the recent odds that came out from the from Vegas, if you will, that gave the Broncos a pretty solid chance of being the next team of one Russell Wilson. So David here says, what are the chances at getting Russell Wilson from Seattle? Thanks, guys, for everything you do. And as always, great show. Really appreciate you, David. Zach, you had a very well-written, interesting article on this very topic last night that dropped, and it's gone gangbusters today on our social media. Drop some knowledge.
Well, I mean, with the recent comments that he made yesterday, Russell Wilson, where he said, I'm frustrated with being hit too much, and he expressed some outward criticism that's very un-Russell Wilson-like. So, of course, Vegas hopped on the opportunity. They came out with odds for Russell Wilson's next team. Number 1 was the Las Vegas Raiders, which is kind of scary to think about. The Broncos, though, depending on the source, sportsbetting.com had him at the 5th best odds to land Russell Wilson via unprecedented trade this offseason. And listen, I've gotten so much pushback from this on social media. Don't kill the messenger. I'm not a Vegas odds maker. I'm just reporting what has come out. But that is a scuttlebutt, Chad. The Broncos are rated among, but that's any quarterback that's available, whether it's Carson Wentz, Deshaun Watson, Matt Stafford when he was. I don't really think Wilson's leaving Seattle. And even if there was any chance of it happening, it would take more than what it would take for Deshaun Watson, because unlike Watson, Wilson has climbed the steepest mountaintops in the NFL. He won a title. He's won playoff games. He is legit. And it would take just way, way too much at this point of his career.
Not only has he won titles, and not only does he win, just in a general sense, but you get the best of both worlds there as well. He puts up stats. He puts up volume. He had over 40 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken, this year, and he wins ball games. Now, they haven't been quite back to the top of the mountain since 2014, but 2 years in a row, Super Bowl, and they lost one of them, of course, the fateful interception thrown on the goal line there. But let me just pivot for a second and get back to a couple other things Phillip Lindsay said, and then we can move on and dive back into the chat. Where are we at time-wise? We're at 38. Okay. So here's what Lindsay went on to say about, the way he's used as a rusher. Quote, and again, this is Lindsay on Monday talking to Cecil Lammey and Nick Ferguson of The Fan. He says, quote, I'm not sitting here saying that you got to give me 25 carries. It's about the type of carries you give a running back. It's the times you give the carries to him. It's the setup plays. That stuff elevates a running back and sometimes makes them look better than what they really are at times. Other times it showcases their talent. If you say, let's just run a play just to run it and run a play, it doesn't work and will never work like that. All right. So he's also questioning Shurmur's just kind of feel for the game and being predictable, and like, you're not mixing it up, dude. And then as Luke very succinctly kind of leads into this in the article itself, but the conversation between Lindsay and the Fan devolved to the whole being a receiver thing. And Zach, our listeners can remember this time last year, in fact, before there was an offensive coordinator shift, the last thing Phillip Lindsay said basically as he was cleaning out his locker at the end of the 2019 season was, when he was asked what's your offseason focus going to be in terms of, improving, he was all about, I got to work on my hands, got to work on my routes. Then Shurmur rolls in, and it's all about throwing balls to the running back. And so the storyline, it went, Zach, from being a storyline to just a ubiquitous trope. Like, it just never ended throughout the entire offseason. So Lindsay, though, did take that as a call to action. He followed through on what he said he was going to do, and he worked his butt off all offseason to improve his hands and his rushing or his receiving skills. Here's what he said. It didn't shake out in the stats, which I'll show you here in a moment. Quote, "How can you say someone can't catch a ball when you don't give them enough balls to be thrown to? It doesn't matter who it is. You're going to drop balls, okay? That's just the nature of the game. But the more you get thrown to, the more confidence you get, and the more you think the QB trusts and believes in you." All right? And then last thing here, Zach, is he goes on to say, he's kind of exasperated by this point. He says, "I worked my ass off to do the catching and stuff, and I just felt like I didn't get put in the situations to provide it or show it." Close quote.
Love it. And it's almost like Lindsay, I'm just saying this kind of tongue in cheek, but it's almost like he watched the pod, because he's saying the same exact talking points that we have. You don't have to give him 40 carries. He doesn't have to be the RB1 by title. He's not going to catch every pass, but give him the opportunity. And what he said there is something that a point that I made about the entire Broncos team. It's not that they lost. It's how they lost. It's not that he was given, lower carries. It's the carries that he was actually given. So the entire Broncos operation, when you look at it on a micro level, the things he were calling out, it spans beyond just the running game. It spans just beyond him. It's the entire offensive operation. And I think that's the bigger message Lindsay's sending here. It's not just me, guys. It's not just the running game. The entire offense is broken, and the ringleader of it all shouldn't be here in Pat Shurmur. So if it exposes Shurmur for what he is, if it forces Shurmur to adjust, if it maybe opens Fangio's eyes on Pat Shurmur more, I am so glad Phil spoke up, if only for himself, Chad, because he got a really raw deal last year.
Boggins, love you, my friend. Not only a superstar, but helping out on Facebook as a moderator in our Superstar, our Super Fan Facebook group. Appreciate you, my friend. And by the way, we should get you back on the show sometime in the near future. Hit me up. Let's chat on Facebook and set up a time. But he says here, and thank you for the super chat, bro. He says, talking about potential cornerback options, free agency, and then the draft. Mackenzie Alexander, he likes Mike Hilton or Patrick Peterson in free agency, and then, of course, Farley or Patrick Surtain in the first round. So of those options, now knowing that A.J. Bouye is gone, all you really have to hang your hat on is Bryce Callahan, who is injury-prone, and a second-year Michael Ojemudia. Are you thinking, Zach, grab one of these vets in free agency and a high-round pick in the draft, or what are you thinking would be the best combo?
You know what? I'm taking it a step further. I'm signing, I like Mike Hilton too, but I'm signing an Alexander or an Hilton, like a middle-tier free agent, won't cost too much, and I'm investing premium draft picks in that spot. So number 9 overall, maybe Caleb Farley, and I'm even coming back from that in the second or third round and taking another cornerback. You cannot have too many in this division, in this league, in the Vic Fangio system, Chad, and you're one injury away from having Michael Ojemudia be your cornerback 1. That's a scary proposition. They have to load the hell up for Bear at cornerback this offseason.
Burn the guitarist, who has rapidly has become a superstar, jumping in with this super. Thank you, my friend. He says, Lindsay, spitting truth. And by the way, Burn the Guitarist, reach out to us on an email, milehighhuddle@gmail.com. Give us your personal deets. Give us your shirt size and an address, and let us send you out a T-shirt as a small thank you for the support and generosity you've shown the show and the channel over the last several months. We really appreciate you. And he says, Lindsay, spitting truth. And that he is. And Zach, I want to show something. Dante, thank you for the stars, my friend. Let me show you something here to give you. Let's just take a quick look. We know Lindsay was hurt quite a bit last year. But look at this. Week 1, he plays the first half and then doesn't come out of halftime because of the turf toe. Comes back in week 6. And if everyone can remember the setting or the situation that he came back to, Melvin had just gotten the DUI and then had that surprise, what was it, Zach's strep throat, right? The week of, it's like, yeah, I'm sure that's what it was. But nevertheless, the Broncos were going on the road, and it also coincided with Drew Lock's return to the lineup after getting hurt in week 2. and you're playing a very savvily coached New England Patriots team in their own house. They are not accustomed to losing too many games. He carried that team. Drew Lock was throwing dimes that game. In fact, he played a nearly perfect game, did Drew, until the fourth quarter. Halfway through the fourth quarter, throws a couple of picks, and you're like, man, what the heck? You were on. His guys were not catching the ball, or else you would have had huge numbers. But nevertheless, what kept that offense moving up and down the field, because guys were dropping so many passes that day, was Lindsay. A total, utter, complete bell cow. 23 carries, 101 yards. Then you jump to week 7. This is the Kansas City game. He goes 9 carries for 79 yards. 9 carries, gang, for 79 yards. And then Daniel Sorensen of the Chiefs, the safety, knocks him out with a dirty helmet-to-helmet. And by the way, Sorensen did get fined for that. And he gets concussed, but he ends up coming back. All right, he gets out of protocol in time to play the next week. That was the big comeback game. And one of the things that sparked that comeback, all right, if you guys can remember in the third quarter, was Lindsay's massive touchdown run. And then, of course, he finished that game, 6 carries, 83 yards. But from there, it started kind of going downhill, right? 8 carries, 23. And then in week 10, at the Raiders, he gets 4 carries, right? And I get it. The Raiders had really put it to the Broncos in that game. It was pretty lopsided early, and you had to kind of go to the pass. But still, 4 touches to arguably your most explosive offensive player gets 4 touches. All right, last thing here, Zach. Then you get to Miami, and once again, he gives you that bell cow workhorse type production, 16 carries, 82 yards, average 5 yards per clip. And then again, it starts kind of going down. 9 carries in that New Orleans game. He gets hurt again. That's when we learned that the injury that eventually cost him 16 and 17. He suffered it in this New Orleans game where he started at quarterback. I know Kendall Hinton was the actual quarterback of the game, but it was Lindsay who was out on the field for snap 1 as the Wildcat quarterback in that game. And then, as you can see, his production just dipped because it was not only by this point was he banged up from the misuse, Zach, but the lack of creativity, the lack of just any sort of innovation started to take its toll, and he ended up having to miss the last 2 games with the knee.
A few things that jump out. First of all, look at the defenses he's fit. Not to make excuses, but a lot of those defenses, Buffalo, New Orleans, Miami, those are really good run defenses. And Pat Shurmur was running an outside running back right into the teeth of every opposing defense. But scroll up, Chad. I want to just point out 7, 6, 4. Those amounts are disgusting to see when it comes to Phillip Lindsay. 4 carries. I don't care about game flow. I don't care about game script. I don't care about anything. And there's no arguable to me, when your most explosive playmaker gets 4 carries, 6 carries for 83 yards. He averaged 13.83 yards a carry. Why not give him more? Why not keep feeding Phil? It makes no sense. And that's where his anger stems from. It's like, I don't have to see 23 carries a game, but let me make the most of my opportunities. If I have the hot hand, keep rolling with me. Don't run me right up the middle. And we're going to see his receiving stats here, Chad, and it's even more depressing.
Yeah, let me try and show that to everybody real quick. So, one catch, then what?
It's the targets, though, that matter. The targets.
All right, yeah, let's look at the targets. So, 1, 3, 3, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. Right. So by season's end, he was at he had 14 total targets, 7 of which he caught. I know there was 1 or 2 drops in there, but a lot of them were just not good passes. Like They weren't using him in that enough to where he had any modicum of chemistry set up with the quarterback. And so it was just disjointed, right, when they actually would go to him. That's on Shurmur, dude, and I get it. Part of it, too, is a young quarterback kind of finding his way. There were so many viable targets, even without Sutton, that Drew had to kind of figure out how to create some chemistry and move the ball. Jerry, KJ, Noah, then you get to Albert O. Then even late in the season, Melvin as a receiver. And then late in the season, you see, of course, Tim Patrick. That's probably the guy he has his best chemistry with, Drew. And then late in the season, you see Tyree Cleveland really come on strong for the Broncos in the finale. But Zach, 14 targets, 7 receptions, 28 yards. One of them was, I misread that. But nevertheless, just tragically misused and wasted.
Yeah, and you know what? Even the excuse about the passes he didn't catch, there should be no question. The plays you drop for Phillip Lindsay, Chad, get the ball in his hands, high percentage. To give him 14 targets, 7 carries, you put him on a team like Baltimore, he's a 1,000, 1,200, 1,300 yard guy, Chad. He's a Pro Bowl running back where he belongs. And when you use him correctly, he's a 21st century player. The problem is the Broncos have a 20th century play caller.
We got a super chat here from Brennan. I hope I don't mispronounce your name. Is it Grossi? I went to high school with someone whose name was spelled similar, just with one extra S, and it was Grossi. So anyway, Brandon, thank you for that super chat, my friend. He says, for a journalism student wanting to eventually cover the Broncos, you guys are an inspiration. Keep killing it, guys. And by the way, Brandon, it was really cool. Brennan reached out to me, DM'd me on Twitter, and we talked. And I have not had a chance, as I look at this now, I haven't replied to you from your last reply, so I'll follow. I'll just reply now. Okay. The best thing, if you're trying to break into this game, first of all, what do you want to do? Do you want to be a journalist? Do you want to be a radio guy? You can do journalism. You can be a writer. Gross. Okay. Thank you, my friend. You can be a writer and also do a podcast, but you kind of have to figure out where you're going to specialize.
Right.
I'm guessing it's probably journalism, but if that's the case right now, all right, you got to try and catch on anywhere you can. I know you want to cover the Broncos, but put in requests and applications to anywhere that will take you right now, even if it's as an unpaid intern, where you can start working that muscle. All right. Any kind of, even if you only have a little grain of natural talent as a writer, it's a muscle that you got to work. And the more you write, the more time on task, my friend, the better you'll get at that. So by the time you get out of school, all right, you got your journalism degree. Not only do you have that experience that's made you a better writer, but you actually have some articles here, there, the other that you can use on your resume combined with your degree to land you a job that you're looking for.
It's really good advice there. A couple other things I want to point out. Like Chad mentioned, lean into what you're good at. Lean into your strong suits. I'm not the biggest draft guy. I'm not the biggest film or stat junkie, so I'm not going to lean into that. But I love news. I love free agency. I love the current topics that Chad and I talk about, so I try to lean into that more. And also, if you want to be a writer, the best advice I've given everyone who's ever asked is just write. It doesn't matter the medium, doesn't matter the platform. I started my own blog 10 years ago, and this was at a time where it was painstaking to do so. Now it takes 2 clicks. Start your own blog, Brendan. Just write. Just get clips out there, get your skills sharpened, and something will happen from it. Just write and do not stop.
I mean, Zach and I we entered this business kind of a little bit differently, but the common theme was we didn't wait for opportunity to knock. We went out and found a way, made a way for it to happen. All right.
Got you.
And you'll have to, make some sacrifices along the way. You're not going to get the world on a platter out of the gates, but you got to start building it now. Like Zach said, even if you just go create a free blog that you're tweeting the links every day from your Twitter account, and you're using the hashtags and you're doing the things that can maybe help your content get in front of additional eyeballs, that's what you need right now, my friend. So there's some advice for you, and I'll try and remember to reply to that DM in a little bit more depth. But I think that's what you need. All you need to know. I know I just cursed over it again, Zach. He wants radio. Podcast is kind of his thing. So start a podcast.
Right.
It's not hard, dude. You go out, you pay for it. You decide where you want to have it hosted. Spreaker, a lot of different options. And you can hit me up. I'll give you some tips on that. And from there, you just need a microphone. You need to know how to record yourself, which is not hard. YouTube teaches you everything you need to know. You need to fix a flat tire. You've never done it. Search on YouTube. You want to learn how to start a podcast at home? Search on YouTube. And just do it. Just create the content. If you build it, they will come. All right, Christian, go ahead.
Just one more quick aside, Brendan, be yourself though. Don't try to be, I was going to recommend watch a lot of podcasts, read a lot of articles, follow your favorite shows, but don't try to be them or recreate them. Be yourself, and that will come out in your mediums, in your art, actually. Everybody has kind of their heroes in whatever realm that, they dream of succeeding in. And I know for me, the inspiration for me was at the time I got into this was an old site called It's All Over Fat Man, all right, .com, which was
a site owned by the great Doc Bear, who is also now an MHH emeritus. All right. We had the honor of being able to publish some of his works after It's All Over Fat Man closed up. But that inspired me, and that's actually where I got into this. Jason Cole, who we've had on the show a couple times, wrote the Elway book, another inspiration to me. But let's Zach, let's jump back into the content here. Christian, good to see you, bro. Really appreciate that super chat. This is another guy, Zach, that is rapidly becoming a superstar for us here at MHH. He says, Phillip Lindsay was utilized so well in Rich Scangarello's system, and now Shurmur just has no clue what to do with him. He was speaking only facts today. And I think it's true. Scangarello, I think one thing to keep in mind is Lindsay was the guy. Like, he was the unquestioned man that year. Royce was still there, but Lindsay was the guy. Pro Bowler, NFL sensation. Like, Lindsay was the story of 2018. And so he had that going for him. He was the man. But he also was lucky enough to stay healthy through the whole season. So that helped him out a lot too.
I don't take any pleasure from being right, but as soon as they fired Scangarello, literally the day of, I said this was a mistake. And when they hired Pat Shurmur, I said even bigger mistake. They compounded one mistake with another. Scangarello, for a first-year coordinator, being so young, being so inexperienced, having 3 different starting quarterbacks, having Joe Flacco start 8 games, what he did with that offense, Chad, it's not just theoretical. He went 4-1, Drew Lock, over his 5 games in 2019 with Rich Scangarello. And not just that they went 4-1, but the types of plays that were being run for the players on offense. All of them. Starting from the quarterback on down, it was more in tune with this day and age of the NFL. Shurmur is stuck in 2005, and that's coming out, as you say, in the wash.
Murphy Bros, collectibles in the house. Thank you, my friend. You have just become lately very, very consistent, and we see you. We appreciate you. Thank you for your support, and it's been great to also connect with you on Twitter, my friend. And his message, go Broncos. That is definitely something we can echo, my friend. Really appreciate you. Zach, we've also got Jay Ritchie. Good to see you, bro. Longtime superstar. Everybody should know Jay Ritchie by now. Really appreciate you, my friend. He says, fellas, good evening. Question. Round 1 this year, round 3 this year, round 2 in 2022, round 3 in 2022. Lock, Graham Glasgow for Russell Wilson. Would you take that?
They wouldn't get that for Carson Wentz, let alone Russell Wilson. It would take 4 first-rounders and Locke and Bradley Chubb and Draymond Jones. It would take the entire team. Russell Wilson is a better, more accomplished quarterback than Deshaun Watson. So only a first, a third, a second, Locke and Glasgow.
Yeah,
they wouldn't even hang up on it. They wouldn't even take the call.
I feel for Russ because, as he said publicly, I'm tired of getting hit, right? They're not protecting him. He has really carried that team the last few years. And I feel for him that he might be kind of wishing he could go play somewhere else. But he's smart enough as well, Zach, to know that when you give up what it would take to get him from the Seattle Seahawks, you're going to a team where, once again, you're going to have to carry it. You're going to have to be the guy, which he can do. But if you really want to give yourself the best chance to succeed, for Russ, I mean, I haven't looked at his contract, but the best thing would be to play out your deal. And then when they come to you for an extension, say, hey, I want to test the market and see what else is out there. I don't think the Broncos realistically are even in that hunt if the Seahawks were to acquiesce and even make him available per trade. I mean, it would be crushing. Boggins, appreciate the super. And he wanted to know what Mohamed's first round prediction is. Farley. And I think he said Farley,
Parsons.
Right?
Yeah. I think his first choice was Parsons, but he could see Farley as well, which, I kind of agree with.
All right, let me see. We are at 58 minutes. So we got to really hustle through our remaining superstars who've been so patient, including this guy, Dave from Georgia. Dave, you're another guy. Now that we're in the off season, we have the time and the means to start having more and more superstar segments, at least one a week we want to do. So we'd love to have you on the show, my friend. We have, if I'm not mistaken, we have corresponded on email before, but so you should have it. But if not, milehighhuddle@gmail.com, reach out or DM me on Twitter. We can set it up if that's something you'd be interested in. Appreciate you. He says, Mile High salute to Mo. Nothing like Broncos country. # state of being. And there's a guy in Georgia that exemplifies, Zach, the # state of being.
I mean, we have another superstar saluting another superstar. It's just the camaraderie and the tight-knit community that's developed here, Chad. It blows me away every day. So thank you, Dave.
All right, I want to pivot just for a second and grab one from Twitch. Savage Boy Kev. Always want to try and get at least one Twitch question in on every podcast. Appreciate you, Kev. He says, if Von Miller doesn't work out, do we take a shot at Bud Dupree or Melvin Ingram? If Jawan James gets cut, do we sign Trent Williams? I don't think so on Trent. He's a left tackle, and the Broncos have their left tackle. But the first one, and by the way, Zach, I would seriously be stunned. Like Mike Tyson in the Hangover knocking the dude out. Like that's how stunned I would be if the Broncos were to cut Juwan James just because of the cap implications. But what's your answer for Kev here on the prospect of going after a Dupree or an Ingram if they move on from Vaughn?
I really haven't thought that deep into edge rusher because I don't consider it that, stark of a need. I know some people out there think it's around one possibility. I'm not quite there yet. I do think Von Miller is coming back, but if he doesn't, for the sake of conversation, you do have Malik Reed, who had a breakout season last year. He looks like a Vic Fangio kind of guy. You have draft capital. I mean, if Von doesn't come back, then it enters the first-round conversation. But if he doesn't come back, it would be a financially driven move. So it's like you're going to replace Von being expensive with another linebacker that would be expensive. Bud Dupree or Melvin Ingram would be not Von money, but 10, 12 million a year. And I don't think you can do better than that in the draft. I'm always a guy that says draft a guy. They're younger, they're cheaper, they have higher upside in most cases. Build from within. And the Broncos finally have a GM in George Payton who shares that mindset.
All right, John, real quick. Let me just tell you where I'm at. After Based Case, we need Isaiah. Hold on, so Rocco's my next one. So we need Isaiah, Jess, Victor. Those three, Isaiah, Jess, and Victor queued up. Based Case in the house, another superstar deserving of a t-shirt. Based Case has now been with us a long time. And you're another guy too. You ever want to come on the show, you holler. We'd love to have you on. But at least reach out to us, milehighhuddle@gmail.com. Let us send you a t-shirt, my friend, as a small thank you for the support you've shown this channel and this podcast for the last at least 7 months, at least, that I can remember you being in the chat. And it's almost every single stream. So love you, buddy. He says, sounds like parting words for Lindsay. I remember Odell Beckham giving Shurmur shade. If he's gone, I hope Lindsay goes to a team where he'll be appreciated. I don't know, man. I'm not quite ready yet to say that was Lindsay basically icing the Broncos. And I think if George Payton is the personnel team running guru that the Broncos think he is, you got to just expect that he's smart enough to know. I mean, he said it, Zach, we're not in the business of letting our best players walk. Right. Lindsay's not only one of your best players today, but he's arguably one of your best players of the last decade of Broncos football.
Yeah, I was nodding my head because I agree with the sentiment. If he does leave Denver, I would love to see him get utilized properly, have some success, win a playoff game, just like Shaquille Barrett. I was so happy to see the Bucs win because Shaq got a ring, and he got a raw deal in Denver just like Phillip Lindsay did. But, I don't think, like you said, I don't think he's icing them out. I don't think he said this because he knows the writing's on the wall, but it's almost a win-win. If his RFA tender gets picked up, he makes a cool $3.5 million. He comes back to the team that he loves on some level. And if he doesn't, if these comments allow him to be moved, he has an opportunity to go to a team like the comment suggested that would utilize him properly. So if I'm Phillip Lindsay, not only do I feel better about myself, my pride is intact. It's a win-win for him. He comes back, makes $3 million, or he goes elsewhere, more than likely, and is utilized properly.
Isaiah 1127, good to see you, my friend. Appreciate you. And we really do got to rapid fire these ones here. But Isaiah says, with Bouye out the door, is Surtain or Farley the pick, or do we yet again go to the free agent pool to fill this important spot? Thoughts, fellas? Hashtag MHHFam. Really appreciate you, Isaiah. Seriously, my friend. I do think that Surtain, Farley, and J.C. Horn are on the table for the Broncos at pick 9. Now, depending on how the veteran quarterback market ends up kind of shaping up for the Broncos, that could change. But I really don't see George Payton drafting a quarterback this year. If he swings and misses, or is unable to land one of the obvious day one upgrades, which there are few in terms of what's available to Denver at quarterback. By that, I mean like a Deshaun Watson, which again, just paying through the nose to get him, but a Deshaun Watson. Who else? Russ ain't getting traded. So probably Deshaun Watson's your only hope or Dak if something goes sour there with Dallas, but that's another long shot. So I still think the odds are the Broncos this year go sign an Andy Dalton type, all right, a guy that's started games, won games, can competently take over if Drew fails. You run it back with Drew, that number 9 pick, it's Caleb Farley, it's Pat Surtain, it's maybe JC Horn, depending on how the board falls.
The nice thing about not making a trade for Deshaun Watson is you can still sign a quarterback and upgrade the room, but you have the picks and the capital and the ammo to upgrade the rest of your team. And the Broncos, again, for the 100th time, are not a Deshaun Watson away from hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. And the Buccaneers prove that against the Chiefs. You need a defense as well. And the Broncos are sorely in need of cornerbacks right now. I believe it was Todd McShay who had the Broncos taking Pat Surtain at number 9. If that's the case, that's fine. All three, like you said, Horn, Surtain, and Farley are in play, and that it truthfully has to be the pick. And I think the Bouye release at this stage signals that.
Rocco 420, who has, this is I think the second stream in a row, if not the second in a row, the second of the last 3 or so, jumping in on Super. Really appreciate you, my friend. He says, and hey, make sure you connect with us on Twitter so we can shout you out after these shows. He says 2 words, guys, pay Lindsay. We need his fire in the backfield. Build the defense, but don't forget about your playmakers on offense. # go Broncos. And then we got one here from Alex Salazar. Good to see you, dog. He says, what up, MHH fam? Hope all is well. I really think in this, the whole pay Phil, feed Phil, # feed Phil, # pay Phil. I would love to see it. Maybe a new set of eyes comes in and George Payton and this changes. But I think if the Broncos were going to pay him, they would have done it by now.
I just had a thought. I wonder how much that also went into his apparent unhappiness, Chad. He was making, what, $600,000, $700,000 last year, $750,000, and you pay Melvin Gordon $8 million for what Lindsay has done for the team. And not only did they not extend him or reward him, they brought in a rival running back and made him the 5th highest paid running back in the entire NFL. If I'm Phillip Lindsay, I'd be way more out there. I mean, I'm actually applauding him for the restraint that he showed in that interview. I would be going in deeper in my employer because it's negligence on the Broncos' part. Not only isolating him, but not at least rewarding him for what he's done in the past.
SC, good to see you, bro. Appreciate you and everything you do for us, my friend. He says, which teammate on the NFL Top 100 called AJ Bouye? I'm not sure on that. Bouye? Dude, I'm lost. I'm not sure what he's even talking about. Do you know what he's talking about?
Which Broncos teammate?
Which teammate on NFL Top 100
or Jaguars?
AJ Bouye? I'm lost, dude. I really do. I'm not sure
let us know. Yeah.
Further. Let us know what you're saying there. Context. Victor, appreciate you, my friend. Says, hey boys, hope y'all doing well. Let's go get Wilson. Hey, man, we're not saying no. We're just saying don't get your hopes up. David Kilgore, again, thank you, David, says, wanted to ask Zach if also we could trade for Dak. Adam Schefter from ESPN said that he does not think Dallas will resign him. If that's true, will Denver go after him? Zach, you cover the Cowboys as one of your other NFL jobs. What's your answer?
The only way that's going to happen, it's the same reason the Broncos can't trade Justin Simmons. He's not under contract. They would have to tag him, and Dak would have to sign the tag and agree to a trade. Among the options for Dak Prescott, that's the most unlikely. It's going to be the franchise tag, if not a long-term deal. I want Dak in Denver more than anyone. Trust me on that, but it's not very likely.
Mark Langley, good to see you, my friend. You know, a stream is just not the same if we don't have Mark checking in and being involved in the conversation. And we just appreciate you so much. It's about due. It's been a while, Mark, since we've had you on the show. Let's get you on the schedule and get you back on and pick your brain a little bit and see, catch up with you a little bit. Says, what's up, my guys? Shurmur needs a shoe in the butt. # huddle up pod. # football priest. Yeah, but he's not going to get one, right? Phillip Lindsay, thanks for the support, my eye huddle.
We got your back, Phil.
We got you. Not allowed here. Appreciate you. Not allowed here. Good to see you. By the way, if you're on Twitter, connect. Let us know. Why doesn't George Payton just hire you two to help bring this team back? LOL. Love the show. Keep it up.
We're available, Chad.
If we could be GM for a day, I mean, look, we don't say that to just obviously these guys. It's literally. Like us, we're storyline guys, right? We're covering the stories, and it's not that we, like Zach said, both of our forte. We're not in-depth draft scouting analysts. We're not in-depth like breaking down the film. We love to do that stuff. It's just not it's not our bread and butter. Our bread and butter for us, our strengths, you go where your strengths are, is news, analysis, etc. And so that's a far cry though from the grind that these GMs and the scouts and the personnel guys that they do. And obviously we definitely don't want to make light of the enormity of that profession and that expertise. But hey, we're here. You need a little suggestion on, do I make this roster move? Do I make that? My dog, we're here for you.
And we got Phillip Lindsay in the chat. So Phil, how about a nice recommendation to George? Put in a good word.
Z-Dub, Zachary Smouse in the house. Good to see you, my friend. Another guy that just brightens our night anytime he's in the chat. And he says, just because our MHH family is the best, I love all of you. We love you too, Zachary. And you know that when he says, I love all of you, this cat means it 100%. And Jesse, that's a new name. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate
welcome.
you. Connect on Twitter.
Thank you, Jesse.
Yep. See, we love you too. I mean, it's the truth. Dennis Woods, good to see you. Another superstar, another guy embodying the hashtag state of being from Michigan. He says, no questions, really, just showing some love. Appreciate all you guys do. Denver Broncos for life. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate that.
Thank you, Dennis.
Always good to see you. Let me check here, John, and I think we might be. Let me double check here, see where we're at. Oh no, we got Brennan, Rello, and Dale, and then we're out of here. Brandon jumping in again. Thanks, my friend. He says, if the Broncos were to draft Trey Lance at pick 9, would you hate seeing him sit behind Locke or another veteran free agent for a season? I'm of the general opinion when it comes to quarterbacks, like I'll echo Elway. I agree with Elway. And I'll take what Elway says as gospel. Before he became a GM, when he was just Hall of Fame quarterback John Elway, he's on record of saying, I'm of the opinion quarterbacks, to develop, you got to play. So depending on the roster politics, like if Drew's still here, why are you – first of all, if you're drafting Trey Lance, why bother going through any more rigmarole with Drew? You just drafted a guy in the first round. Trade Drew, cut him, whatever, get him out of town because he's not your guy. And get Trey into the, within the first half of the season, at some point you want him to play. He's very raw. He's got a lot of, growing to do, but there's a lot of talent there. He's very intriguing quarterback. I just don't think the timing is right for the Broncos quite yet. That's just us.
Yeah, I'm of the mind also, you take a quarterback in the top 10, you're not putting him behind anyone, Chad. I mean, he has to play. And if you do, it opens up the scenario where what if Locke outplays Trey Lance? Or what if he holds off Lance? What do you do then? It's a Pandora's box I don't think George Payton wants to explore his first year on the job. Thank you, Daniel.
By the way, here, real quick, John, keep Rello ready. I'm just grabbing this real quick. Brennan says, appreciate all the advice, guys. I've been writing stuff just to practice for about a year now. Love the grind. That's good, man. It's a muscle. Now publish it. Fine. Go start your own blog. It's not hard, dude. It sounds daunting, but it's not. All right, Rello. Let's see my friend Rello. There he is. Appreciate you, Rello. And you're another guy that's really come on strong as a superstar the last month or so. And we see you. We appreciate you. Keep it up, my friend. We love to see it, and we want to see more of that, get you more woven into what we're doing here at MHH and a part of this community. So he says Locke is better when running play action passes rather than regular dropbacks or shotgun. Locke threw for 7 touchdowns and 0 picks from play action in 2020 with 120.47 passer rating. Yeah, I know his stats and his analytics were much more favorable when he was in play action. Which is why, Zach, again, here, let me get the ball dome out here. You're going like this when Shurmur's lining him up in the gun, play after play after play after play. I mean, at least when Gary Kubiak inherited Peyton Manning, who was on the back 9, he was smart enough to go, all right, Peyton likes the gun, but let's run pistol. I mean, it was Ronnie Hillman and CJ from the pistol utilizing still that play action to great effect. You got to use it more, and especially when it plays to a strength of your quarterback.
That was my answer. It's like, how often did you actually see Locke in play action last year? And it's just an abdication of duty on Pat Shurmur's part. And, you talk about Gary Kubiak. You put Locke in a Kubiak system, he throws for 3,500 yards, 26 touchdowns. He's a really solid, like, Kirk Cousins level quarterback. And I hate to say it, but you put that type of quarterback under center in Denver with that defense playing up to par, you can be a playoff team.
Dale, Rude, I think. Good to see you, my friend. Appreciate you. Get a Twitter account, dude. Connect with us on Twitter. He says they bring in Melvin Gordon, and that was shortly after Elway talking about hoping Lindsay's contract, despite having a year left on the cheap, #slap in the face. You are not wrong, my friend. That's one of the things that I know soured Phillip Lindsay and just, it was a kick to the gut because in Elway's defense, it's not like Elway came out in a press release and said, hey, everybody, I know no one was asking, but we're thinking about extending Phillip Lindsay. That's not how it shook out. He was at the podium, end of season presser following the 2019 campaign. He was asked, hey, Phillip is entering a contract year. You guys I know you can RFA him after this year still and keep him under team control, but are you going to look at an extension? And he said, this isn't a direct quote. This is, this is not verbatim, but he said basically that we're going to take a look at that. Yep. We've already got plans to take a look at that, at an extension, at a new contract for Phillip. Zach, then they fired the coordinator and then hired Pat Shurmur, and the prospect of doing anything new for Phil fizzled like that.
And then they paid Melvin Gordon $8 million a year, and when they already had a perfectly good running back. And even before that, though, what did Phillip Lindsay witness in 2019, what the Broncos did with a guy who wanted more money and Chris Harris Jr.? Elway wasn't cheap then. He gave him $3 million just for the sake of keeping him happy. Elway is only cheap until he wants to be cheap, until he wants to spend some money. And he should have opened the pocketbook a little more for Phillip Lindsay, because now you have, I don't want to say a mutiny, but you have some unhappy campers in that locker room.
All right, guys, we got to dip out of here for tonight. We went a little bit long, but hey, we just have so much fun doing this, and we don't leave a superstar on the outside looking in. So thank you to each and every superstar tonight. Mile high salute to you, our Facebook supporters, our Facebook stars. When you give us stars on Facebook, we really appreciate it. Connect with us on Twitter at Huddle Up Pod, at Mile High Huddle. Follow my partner, Zack Kelberman, on Twitter at Kelberman NFL, myself at Chad and Jensen, and our producer, Buona Beast, the lovable teddy bear that will rip your face off, okay? At John K. MHH. Yeah, that's right, John. All right, trust on that. He's a great Twitter follow. Also, call to action, all right? I'll make this easy for you guys. I'm going to give you the link to the Huddle Up Podcast Facebook page in the chat right now. You can click on it, go follow. We need you over there. Get her done. And remember, it's going to enter you into the future drawings if you're following and liking the page. And then check out the merch store when you get a chance, huddleuppod.com. Get your swag on and get your 20% off and free shipping. Upgrade your male grooming, manscaped.com. Use the code HUDDLE. And I think one last thing, Zach. Guys, go become a supporter on Facebook if you want access to our additional premium video content, which right now includes Kelberman's Corner, another pod or another episode, I should say, coming out fresh Sunday noon. And then we're also rolling out some very fun draft content, premium draft content for the draft nerds in our community. We're all draft nerds, but for those who are really want to know all the ins and outs and the details, we're going to be rolling out some content there. So facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. Just open up the app, find Mile High Huddle, big blue button. You're in like Flynn. And then we'd really appreciate it, gang, before you dip out, like this video. It helps us so much. Other than that, Zach, sign us off. We'll be back tomorrow for the Mile High mailbag, but have a good night, bro.
You as well. Everyone out there, have a good night. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow night, 6 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Mountain, 8 p.m. Eastern. Our favorite pod of the week, the Mile High Mailbag. If you have any questions, pop it into us on Twitter. Hit us up on the official MHH Twitter account, our own individual Twitter accounts. We will see you tomorrow night. Have a great night, you, Dylan, as well. Thank you. Hit the like button, guys, on your way out. Listen to Dylan. Knows what he's talking about. Take care, and until next time, and as always, go Broncos.